From monsters that appeared to be something obvious but were actually far more mysterious, to species of fish that had never been seen by many on the land, and more. Here are 9 of the most terrifying sea monster carcasses. Number 9. The Seram Island Monster. In 2017, the people of Seram Island, Indonesia, found a very different kind of monster washed up on their shores. They called it a monster because at the time of its discovery, it was more of a blob of flesh and other materials than it was an identifiable creature. In fact, because it couldn't be identified quickly, word spread that it may have actually been a monster. Asrul Tuanakota, a 37-year-old fisherman, initially thought that he had discovered a boat stranded in shallow water. On closer inspection, he determined that it was the rotting corpse of a 50-foot-long dead sea creature, possibly a giant squid, because the remains looked like tentacles. After some research, though, it turned out to be a baleen whale, one that had gone through some serious decomposition before it had washed upon the shore of the island. According to scientists, it had been dead for weeks, or even months, and adding that to the water moving it around, it caused the whale to be unrecognizable. But aside from the visual horrors, there's another reason to stay away from an entity such as this. It's yet another reason you don't want to be close to these things, not because it's a scary, spooky creature, but because it would just be releasing some pretty foul, noxious gases. Blood seeping from the dead sea beast had turned the water near the coastline a bright red, which didn't stop locals from wading in for a closer look and snapping pictures. And, given the pictures that were taken, you can see why they felt they were in the presence of a monster until the truth came out. Number 8. Muriwai Monster. In 2016, a man was walking down the beach of Muriwai in Auckland, New Zealand, when he discovered what he truly believed to be a monster. In fact, it would later be named the Muriwai Monster. After some rumors spreading, scientists came down and took a look to determine what this creature actually was. They revealed that it was something unexpected: driftwood, a rather large piece of wood that was covered in gooseneck barnacles, to be precise. There is a reason for this unusual fusion, if you will. This particular species of barnacle is known as Lepus anatifera. It lives via attaching itself to objects underwater. They do this in massive colonies, and then eat by using the tubes that their bodies have to filter feed. The tubes can grow up to 31 inches long, which was part of the reason people felt the barnacle colony was a monster, because of all the tendrils wriggling around, when in actuality it was just the barnacles trying to survive in their new environment. The final question that needed to be asked, though, was, well, how did this wash upon the shore? That would be because the large piece of wood was underwater with the barnacles, and a local earthquake caused it to move towards shore. But of course, the people of Auckland didn't know that, so to them, a monster had seemingly washed upon the shore. A living hybrid monster that was wrapped around a rotting piece of wood is still something to investigate more, don't you think? Number 7. MONTAUK Monster. On a beach in New York in 2008, a weird creature washed up onto the nearby beach, and the moment people saw it, they were entranced. Why? Because it didn't look like any creature they had ever seen before. This was the birth of the MONTAUK Monster. Ironically, though, before the authorities could get there to examine the body of the creature, it was gone. Someone had somehow taken it without being noticed. Therefore, the only proof of the creature was the various pictures that people had taken of it. Zoologists looked at the pictures and determined that this was a dead and bloated raccoon, and nothing more. Many disputed this, but facts were presented to show that this had indeed been a raccoon once. Still, the creature is talked about often, and there are many conspiracy theories as to how and why the creature was washed ashore, and who took the body of it. One small note, there were a group of men who eventually came forward and admitted to not just taking the body of the monster, but giving it a Viking funeral. Whether this is true or not has not been determined. Have you ever encountered a deceased animal somewhere that you didn't expect to find? Did it startle you? What was it? Tell me about your experience in the comments below. Then remember to subscribe to The Biggest if you haven't already for more eerie videos. just like this one. Number 6. The Philippines hair blob. In 2018, an entity was found on a beach in the Philippines, and no one could tell what it was or wasn't. It was blob-like, and just as unique was that it had a lot of hair on it. Further adding to its mysterious shape was that it was over 20 feet long. People of the area looked upon it and saw it as an omen. It has been told that when creatures from the deepest parts of the ocean start appearing, something bad will happen. Vincent de la Pena Badillo told The Sun on Sunday. Samples of the creature were sent to a lab for identification, which was a smart thing because globsters, as they are called, have been seen all over the world in various nations and not just the Philippines. After some analysis, scientists stated that it wasn't a monster, but rather a decomposed whale. Though some of the others have never been fully identified, they are believed to be decomposed whales, squids, and other deep-sea creatures. As for the hair of the creatures that people love to talk about, those are the remains of the muscle and fiber tissue that is within them. It's simply a natural byproduct of the decomposition process. Number 5. The Demon Dolphin of Sakhalin. If you headed to Russia in 2015, specifically to a place known as Sakhalin, you might have been in for a very unique experience in terms of a monster that happened to wash upon the beach. At first, some people actually thought they knew what it was, as this mystery creature appeared to have something that resembled a beak, and thus some felt it was a decomposed dolphin. Except, just as many pointed out that dolphins don't have beaks, nor do they have fur, as this creature did. One social media user joked, "Probably it's because our summer is so cold that even the Indian dolphins getting into local waters are covered with fur." Deputy head of the forecasting department of the Sakhalin Research Institute of Fisheries and Oceanography, Nikolai Kim, said, "Judging by the appearance of the head, this is clearly some big dolphin. According to a characteristic of the skin, it is a rare species. I doubt that it lived in our waters. Most likely the animal was brought by the warm current." He went on, "We often get tropical and subtropical species here, and when they cool down, they stay here and then die. I can confidently say that this is some kind of a dolphin. However, it has fur. It's unusual. Dolphins do not have any fur." The irony is that before a true identification for the dolphin was reached, the body washed back out to sea. Thus, the demon dolphin mystery was never solved. It's possible it's a species that no one had ever seen before, but we'll never know now. Number 4. Sea Monster of New Zealand. On a New Zealand beach known as Bay of Plenty in 2013, a carcass of a sea monster appeared. The creature was in a very decomposed state, which revealed massive teeth that further cemented it as a monster. Its 30 feet of length helped cement that distinction in the eyes of the people. Not helping matters were the creature's teeth. There were over a dozen very long and very sharp teeth in its mouth, which seemed to point to this creature being a powerful predator of some type. Marine mammal expert Anton van Helden eventually hypothesized that the decomposed creature was just a killer whale. While it was a simple explanation, it raised certain questions, including how killer whales don't have teeth like that, nor do they look like this sea monster did. I suspect it was something else entirely. However, looks can be deceiving, and killer whales are on average about 26 feet in length, and can grow larger at times. What's more, the killer whale has very sharp teeth, as they are honestly apex predators of the ocean alongside things like sharks, which they tend to attack at times. Apparently, the decomposed state led to its more natural features being muddled and not as recognizable, but scientists claimed it was a killer whale, although I demand further proof. You can't just judge a sea book by its cover. Number 3. The MADBALL of Cape Town. In Cape Town, South Africa, a woman named Leandra Visser was walking along the beach when suddenly she found something she couldn't explain. Apparently, she picked up a small fish that appeared to be mostly a mouth and teeth, which were very disproportionate to the rest of its body. She took pictures of it and posted about it on Facebook, asking for help identifying it. After defending it from people who said it was a joke fish or a prank, she sent pictures of the fish to the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity, and the scientists there were sure it was real, but didn't necessarily think it was a fish. Why? Mainly because it had a lack of fins and other features that fish are known to have. After some analysis, one expert believed it is an aquatic being known as a clipsuer, also known as the rock sucker, as it goes and feeds off of things like mussels. However, because Leandra didn't keep the fish, that couldn't be fully determined. As for why it looked so disproportionate, the experts believe that this was due to the fact that it was dried out, and thus some of its features appeared to be more elongated than they actually were. Number 2. One-eyed shark. When a fisherman off of Baja, California, took pictures of a one-eyed shark and posted them around, people immediately started crying out that this was fake. Even when pictures of the shark were taken from another angle and seemed to be legit, no one believed it. A few weeks after the first pictures were taken, another set of them, featuring the one-eyed shark, appeared, and this time, it appeared to have gotten some age on it. So was this truly real? After some investigations by reporters, they found out it was indeed a one-eyed shark. But there's a reason it was this way, and it wasn't because it was a new species. Rather, it was a deformed fetus from a caught pregnant bull shark. How the deformation and albino coloring occurred wasn't clear, but it was clear that it was real and rare. One expert said that 50 of these kinds of creatures have been documented. Number 1. Blobfish. The blobfish is a very unique specimen when it comes to the world we live in. You see, the blobfish are a species that lives in incredibly deep waters within the oceans, and are used to living in places with incredible pressure. So when they're not in those high pressure areas, they actually transform in a way into a more jelly-like state, which is why it looks like a blob when it is on the surface. Due to this, there are plenty of people who look upon the final form of the blobfish and think it's not real, because it looks so strange and odd in that form. Just catching a blobfish is an incredible endeavor, as no blobfish has ever been caught alive, which is the same for most deep-sea fish. So even if you could catch one, you would have to keep it within a container that exerts the same pressures of the ocean and then transfer it into a cage that has similar pressures. Thanks for watching. What did you think of this look at these terrifying sea monster carcasses? Can you see why so many people freaked out upon finding these sea monsters? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here on The Biggest.